Hi, I'm Pallav Pandey. I'm co-founder and CEO of Uolo.
The word serial founder truly does not do justice to the guest of this episode of the Founder Thesis podcast. Pallav Pandey has been at the forefront of the startup revolution in India for 2 decades now. He is now on his fourth venture, and his past ventures include Nolarity, which was India's first cloud telephony SaaS startup, and FastFox, which was a real estate tech startup that was acquired by India's largest real estate tech platform. Pallav is currently building Uolo, which has the ambitious plan of being the default platform distributing edtech products in India. Uolo's thesis is that there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all edtech product, and India needs thousands of affordable edtech products. And at Uolo, he is building the pipes through which these products will reach the masses. Stay tuned for this insightful conversation with a veteran founder and subscribe to the Founder Thesis podcast on any audio streaming app to learn from the best minds in the startup world.
Where did you grow up? And, were you in a business family? What were your parents doing jobs?
So I grew up in Delhi. We kind of grew up in a joint family, large family in Delhi. So that is how it was.
And I guess IIT Kanpur is where you met your first co-founder, right? Amrish.
And that is right. That is right. Actually, it is kind of slightly bizarre that both I and Amrish were actually in the same batch in IIT Kanpur. But it so happened that for 4 years, being in the same college, same batch, we never met each other. So we actually met in Silicon Valley because both of us were working for different companies in Silicon Valley. And then, there's about
Like from IIT, you got placed abroad? Yeah. Like, how did you?
went directly. Yeah.
Acha. Where did you get placed after IIT?
So basically, it was like there was a company called NVIDIA. So NVIDIA was actually, now it is very big, but that time it was very small, almost like a startup. And it was like 2000 .com bust was just about to happen. So in 1999, the company said, "Hey, there are no engineers left in Silicon Valley to hire. So why don't go outside, go find engineers where we can get, right?" So somebody smart said, "And India mein chalte hain, right? Let's go get engineers from IIT." So they sent a recruiter to do that exercise, and then output of that was me with maybe 6, 7 other guys. All of us went and joined NVIDIA. So this was in 2000, and then Amrish was working with another company called EFI, and then we kind of happened to meet over there, and then I came back in 2003, and he also kind of came back around the same time. We were doing different things, but then we kind of collaborated briefly, kind of became good friends.
So why did you quit your NVIDIA job, earning big dollar salary, come back to India to do a startup? And उस टाइम पे तो कोई वो स्टार्टअप लोग बोलते नहीं थे ना, लोग तो बोलते थे कि मैं बिजनेस कर रहा हूँ, मतलब वो तो वर्ड ही नहीं था स्टार्टअप उस टाइम पे.
Yeah, word startup word nahi tha, that is correct. So actually, so I mean, if I were to describe that, rationally talk about that time now, I would say I just was very foolish. And that is what everybody told me, even at that point of time. I just felt that I want to do something more than just work for this corporation and contribute towards the chipset. तो मैंने कहा इंडिया में जाएंगे, इंडिया में कुछ करेंगे, राइट? अब क्या करेंगे वो थोड़ा फजी था, बट आई द थॉट वाज दैट कुछ मीनिंगफुल करेंगे विच विल काइंड ऑफ मेक अ डिफरेंस. So I came back and I started a political consulting company in India.
Okay, which would be on lines of what that Kishore, I don't.
Prashant Kishore, yeah. This is Prashant.
Prashant Kishore. Okay.
Prashant Kishore, 10 years before Prashant Kishore. So, so I was 24 years at that point of time. The thought process was कि यार ऐसा करते हैं, all of this data that is now available on Indian elections, we can crunch that and do a lot of smart analysis and then guide these political leaders to be smarter in how they fight elections. Also, in the process, once you make I think the big idea was that if you can make the Indian elections more predictable, you will have people who are less corrupt or less desperate. So, I mean, I was kind of very naive, but the thought process was, yeah, the reason people are so corrupt is because the market is so unpredictable. You even if you do very good work, you are not sure if you're going to win next time. So the only way you can take care of yourself is to be corrupt for the 5 years that you are in power. But if there was a method to this madness, if you could actually know what voters wanted, how this whole, lakhs of people are going to vote beforehand, then you can do those things, right? And be systematic about it. So we started this concept of voter relationship management, worked with a lot of people, and did that for a lot of years, actually. I did that for almost 5 years.
You built like a CRM product for the voter relationship management. What did you? Was it a software business or was it services?
Yeah, it was a lot of things. It was, I thought it was software, and my customers thought it was services.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, but so we, and then eventually it kind of degenerated from a more socialist, idealist thought process to being more of a election war horse kind of a thing, where people started using whatever little I understood about elections and data to work as a to make me work as a psephologist. So
What is a psephologist?
Psephologist is somebody who can kind of do surveys and make sense of the election trends and predict what is going to happen. So that whole science of surveys is called psephology. So I ended up doing that. So a lot of interesting work, but it came to a point.
So you would give data on the basis of which the party would decide where to invest money. Like what are the
Actually, that was the original thought. The thought was that you work with an MP and MLA. They've got their own funds, and then they've got their own influence by which they can get stuff done. So you can kind of guide them that this is what basis some primary research and a little bit of data analysis from elections that this is your voter base. Then the primary research says that this is what they want. It could be a hand pump or a tube well or a school. So do this work, you'll get votes. These are your voters. So that was it. There were actually some good MLAs who actually made their MLA fund deployed basis the report that we had given. Eventually, it came to a point where we became a election mercenary, where we were used to do the legwork for political parties. They will pay us, and there's no sense of purpose left. So I felt that I'm actually worse off than what I was at NVIDIA.
tell me something. Would you get paid if your client lost the election? Would they still pay you?
So I mean, mostly yes. So then we did that for good 4 or 5 years. Then something interesting happened. Then Amrish, who kind of I'd met in 2002, three, and we were in touch all this while. And then he finished his MBA, McKinsey, and all of that. Then he was also like trying to find an opportunity, and he said, "Hey, let's do something in India." And I said, "Yeah, why not? Let's try." Even because I also was at that point feeling that whatever I'm doing is not really as exciting as I thought it would be. So we came up with this idea for Nolarity, and it so happened that what we built in Nolarity was a cloud telephony platform, and it was basically new at that point of time. So being able to integrate with telephony at a cloud level, so without any hardware, being able to do stuff with telephony.
Which was revolutionary at that time, right? Like
At that, this is 2009. This is 2009, right?
there was nobody else doing that in India. And essentially in India, the way people would do it is through those EPUBX physical hardware, like the EPUBX hardware.
Yeah. So we basically replaced the physical EPBX thing. Actually, a lot of things that we see now, they did not exist. So actually, we almost pioneered that. So, for example, when you place an order on e-commerce website and now you get a call and you have to press one to confirm. So that kind of thing we invented. Now there are a lot of places where there are virtual numbers. So you see a number on a classified, but that number will kind of patch you somewhere else. Or like when you call Zomato, and it will basically be some virtual number that you're calling and all of that, right?
Or like with the taxi booking services.
Uber, same, all of that, right? So all of that, we ended up inventing a lot of that things in the Nolarity journey. So that was kind of exciting. But the first project was very interesting, right? So first project, I was still consulting the then Chief Minister of Odisha, Naveen Patnaik, and we gave him a report, which so we were doing a survey. So we did a massive survey for the then government, and the idea was to figure out what is the strength of BJP versus BJD, because they were always fought in alliance. So people did not know what is the strength of one party versus another. And basis our survey, we kind of actually gave them a number saying, hey, if you were to split, this is what you will get, this is what BJP will get. And then the reaction was that, hey, then why the heck are we giving them so many seats? So they actually broke, this is in 2009, they actually broke the alliance basis, the work that we had done. And when that happened, Pat,
So how did you do this? Like, how did you run this campaign? Like, you got voter phone numbers and then you would do an outgoing call and
no, this is pre-Nolarity, huh? This is pre-Nolarity. So this was actually a lot of shitty legwork. But what we did was we had made some technology back then. Remember that torch wala Nokia phone that used to come? So we had a technology on that allowed us to run an app on that smartphone. So there was a Java application that you could do, and that Java application, what it did, and this is the pre-smartphone world. So in that, what we did was this Java application was running, and then there was a standalone Bluetooth GPS that used to be there. So now, what would happen is that our guys would go into this deep interior of Odisha, do a survey that used to open up on that mobile phone, and the location of the surveyor used to get captured from the GPS, and then the GPS over the Bluetooth it will get transferred to the application, and then over the 2G connection that data will come to us in Delhi. So we kind of had made this technology. We showed it to. There used to be this guy called. He's no more now. Pyare Mohan Mahapatra. So he was the Amit Shah of Naveen Patnaik. So we showed it to him. He really liked it. He said, okay, fine, we'll do this. Right. So we talked to about 17, 18,000 people in Odisha, made a report, and the alliance with BJP got broken up. And then, so that was like my career high in political consulting. And then we pitched him an idea that, hey, we are also doing this Nolarity thingy. And what we can do is actually, we can make a phone call to every single person in Odisha. And what you can do is we'll have a message from Naveen Patnaik where he's explaining the rationale of why he broke up with BJP, and we'll call up everybody. That is how Nolarity actually started, because the initial, the money that we got from that project became the seed capital for Nolarity. So till that time, it was just a prototype. So Amrish was still in the US at that point of time. And then after we got this project, we executed it. We were still working remotely on, Team Viewer. This is pre-Zoom world, right? So phone calls and all of that, we coordinated this project, executed it. Then Amrish left his job at McKinsey, came to India. Then we started building Nolarity more formally.
And just for our listeners, we interviewed Amrish, and that is episode 18 in the stream. So then what? Like you left this political consulting thing.
Yeah. So I eased out of it. Yeah. So for me personally, it was all in. But when BJP lost, then BJP kind of roped us in, said, hey, we kind of got screwed in Odisha, but you work with us now. And so then my company was working with BJP extensively. So we did multiple states for them. But I had kind of moved out. Like I was already looking to move out maybe for about a year before that. And then I was 100% into Nolarity. Then I and Amrish were building it. Then we raised money from Sequoia, and the journey happened.
Most people think of a founder as, like, say, Sanjeev Bikhchandani, who's been with InfoEdge for 2.5 decades or more now. Why did you, and you were a co-founder at Nolarity, probably significant stake, or I don't know, in those days, maybe you're.
Yeah, we equal partners. Yeah. So I and Amrish were equal partners. So we're building it together. So what happened was, we built it together for almost 5 years, but came to a point where there was a lot of divergence of opinion about how to take the company forward. So we were not able to come at the same plane, so to say. Then we realized that
What were the options in front of you that, what were those two different directions?
So I think two broad things were around: do we grow Nolarity as an enterprise business or as a SMB business, right? So what
And so far, it had been what, enterprise or SMB?
it was a we were doing both at that point of time. We were running two companies rolled into one, and strategically speaking, SMB was the right thing to do because as a company you have a lot of power over the SMB customers. But all the writing on the wall was that SMB business was unsustainable, and the enterprise business is what will give you the money. So I was actually pushing for us to do the enterprise business properly. Amrish wanted to do the SMB business properly. So Amrish's point was that, with enterprise it will not happen. But problem is that it was not happening with SMB either. Lot of dissonance and standard chaos, confusion, to a point where we thought that we might be better letting one person run the show. So so that is what happened. So Amrish remained. I moved out. So that is where the journey for Nolarity ended for me. Eventually, it all went okay. The company ended up doing enterprise more. If that were a consolation prize, but it doesn't matter, right? I think together the outcome would have been much better. We yielded the space to other players. Eventually, the outcome was not bad. We got sold for $100 million, but we could have done much bigger. But yeah, now that space that got created is done by our friend Shifku in Exotel. So it's doing well.
Okay, fascinating. So then what? Like, when you decided to move out, were you able to cash out your stake, or you cashed out when the Gupshup acquired Nolarity? That's when you cashed out.
नहीं हो गया थोड़ा सा हो गया था. So in the next financing round, that Mayfield came in. Mayfield led the rounds, and Sequoia was there. So there was a secondary that happened. So I could sell part of the stake then. So that kind of, at least financially, took care of me. And then I kind of went on. But I had already moved out. So then, till that time, I was on the board. And then when the eventual Gupshup deal happened, the balance got sold out.
Okay. So what did you decide to do then? Like, you're out of Nolarity, out of work, but you have money to experiment.
So I zeroed in on two things, which I thought could be genuinely large opportunities. So one was edtech, and other was real estate. And as I talked to people on edtech, I realized that maybe the market is not ready. So I actually chickened out of doing edtech. I wanted to do edtech, but I chickened out and I did real estate instead, which in hindsight, I think it was a bad call. It was genuinely hard, very, very hard market. So we tried very hard.
What part of the market? I mean, real estate is so broad, no? Like,
Yeah, so it's an online angle to real estate. So what we thought when we got in, we said, hey, the problem is this whole information asymmetry. Brokers have all the information. Can we? And then all the classifieds are shitty because everything is like practically incorrect, right? So who has the right information? The brokers have the right information, and the brokers are talking to each other. Can we become a communication layer between the brokers, and then the brokers can do, and then what WhatsApp was kind of catching up at that point of time. So this is 2014-15 time period. So brokers were forming a lot of WhatsApp groups, and a lot of information was getting exchanged on that. And in contrast to the information, like random information that was on classifieds, everything on the broker groups was actually correct information. So we thought, hey, what if we have an app, which is the brokers app? So it's like WhatsApp for brokers, and all the brokers can chat on that. So while they will not disclose the exact property details, but we'll get to know that which broker is dealing in what and all of that. And the app went crazy viral in the broker community. So we had like a lakh plus downloads of verified brokers. So we could do a lot of, in a span of like 4 or 5 months. It was crazy. Very heady times. 2015. So Lightspeed invested seed round, and then in 2015, of course, we did not have any revenue model, and we were still trying to figure out. While we were trying to figure out the revenue model, we said, okay, let's go raise the Series A as well, because things are going good. And then
And that was the boom area for real estate, right? Housing, no broker. Oh,
and so housing and all that was happened. So it was kind of, real estate was still looking.
it was a hot space at that time.
uh, yeah, actually, I would say housing was had raised $100 million like the year before, I think 2014, and they'd already managed to blow up all the money in about a year. So it was crazy. Crazy times. But generally, like, real estate was not as bad a word as it is now. And by the time 2015 ended, the whole world turned very, very cold and dark, like what it is now in the venture space, where people just did not want to make any new investments. People wanted to know very definitive revenue models, and we were like, oh my god, we just raised $1 million, and we do not even have a revenue model. We'll die. So we pivoted from doing this thing to being a rental brokerage company. And the idea was that we'll become a full stack rent.
Like no broker, basically.
Like no broker, but no broker was just a internet based play. We decided to be a full stack play.
So no broker was just discovery. You wanted to manage the transaction.
Just discovery, end to end fulfillment, huh? Yeah, manage the transaction. And in retrospect, I don't think that's a great idea. But that's what we did. We pivoted. We managed to scramble for some money.
But what does this mean, managing the transaction? Like you would take like 10 apartments from a builder.
Yeah, so no, we were not taking the apartments. What the original idea was that we have, because we have so much information flowing on our broker exchange on the supply side, we will be able to contact those brokers, and they will act as the supply side broker, and we will act as the demand side broker. And for demand, there are any which ways a lot of platforms out there. We would plug into that, get the demand, and then our guys will work with the broker to close the deal, right? So we will give a little bit of thin servicing at our end. So that was it.
Okay. So instead of charging for a classified ad, you will take a success fees. Like that broker gets that success fees commission of 15 days or 1 month. So that some part of that will go to you.
Success fees, yes. Same model, better service, and then whatever money gets made, we share it with the supply side broker. A lot of times, supply side broker will also get paid from the supplier, which is the landlord. That was the model, which is kind of a mirror of how the world works in the offline space. When I think about it now, objectively, I think there were structural issues in this market.
What were the structural issues?
Think of it like this, that for an internet player to win, it has to be better than the local guy that is out there. But the real estate as a business, think of a customer, he's looking to find a property in, let's say, Pinnacle Apartments. Now the broker who is just having a small shop near Pinnacle is equipped better to service that guy because he knows each and everything about Pinnacle Apartments, which a bigger company will never be able to do. So the question is that we are just fooling around. We do not have as much depth in on the inventory side that is required. So while we might overall say that we have got like 5,000 properties in Gurgaon, that doesn't mean a shit because we do not have that four properties in Pinnacle Apartments. We only have like two. So we are worse off than the local brokers. Local broker will kick your ass every single time. And then brokers being brokers, so brokers are, the another very opportunistic kind of a player.
And they will always try to cut you out of the transaction.
Cut you out of the deal, right? Cut you out of the deal every single time. So, and this is very different from other platforms where, let's say, so I mean, to be fair, even cab drivers want to cut out the Ola from the deal, right? So they do that, but still, as a platform, there is a lot of dependency on Ola because for a daily bread, you have to go back to Ola. Problem is
it's high frequency. Like you get 8 orders a day.
Yes, it's high frequency. Real estate is a super low frequency business for the broker. So broker is fine cutting you out. He'll say, okay, next month देखेंगे. अभी तो इनको बाहर करते हैं, right? It's a big deal. So that is what happened. That was the structural issue, and then it will manifest itself in different forms and shapes. But so you cannot be a full stack player. You can do what you like. No broker guys are my batchmate, and at that point of time, I think we had less appreciation of no broker at that point of time. But in hindsight, I feel that the choices that they made were very correct because they said we will only do what we can realistically do, which is to command a very less fees for that much service of making the connection, discovery and connection happen, and then you go figure it out yourself. And I think there's value to it. And then there's a very lot of pragmatism around how an internet business can possibly look like. So I think much smarter play. So I think Fastbox had bunch of learnings, whole bunch of learnings. I think we were lucky that we got eventually bought out by Prop Tiger Housing Ilara Group, basically. So Dhruv was the CEO. So he had some plans around building a full stack business. So in that plans, we fit in very well. And honestly, we were not doing very well. But we were lucky we got out.
Full stack for rental, you're saying? Like, or because Prop Tiger was already doing sale purchase transactions, right?
Yeah, so sale purchase they were doing, and they already had a demand engine at housing.com. So what they wanted to do was they said, hey, we have a demand engine and we have a full stack. There are three basically markets in real estate. There's a primary transaction market, secondary transaction market, and then there's a rental market. So, and then what you need to power all of these three markets is a demand engine, which is housing.com. So in his scheme of things, he said, hey, I've got the demand. I've got a full stack arm around primary. And with Fastbox acquisition, I can get a full stack arm around rental. And, secondary will maybe between Prop Tiger and Fastbox, we will figure something out. So that is how we got bought out. So yeah, so I kind of worked over there as the chief product officer for about a year. But yeah.
Okay, just another note for listeners. Dhruv has also been featured on the show, episode 109.
So I worked there for about a year at Housing as their chief product officer across the products. So we kind of had Prop Tiger, we had Housing, we had Makan, and then we had now had Fastbox. So quite a elaborate. Then they eventually got bought out by Real Estate Australia.
So, but I don't think they executed this plan, right, of full stack.
Yeah, so they started with it, and they kind of started post the acquisition. They tried for 1 year, but what happened is that one is, of course, I think there were structural issues that I described.
Yeah. They discovered that also.
They also realized that there's structural issues, so they closed that business, and also fundamentally there was a misalignment with the vision of the investors. So the investor, the Real Estate Australia, is basically a classifieds business in Australia. So they understand this market very well, which is the real estate media market. And they said, why don't you just sit down and focus on making housing.com the default destination for all the real estate traffic, which is what the company focused on. And it just made sense to cut down all the distractions, and fast was being one of them. So they kind of eventually closed that business.
And I think they've executed well. Last I spoke to Dhruv, he was saying housing is the market leader in terms of traffic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they've executed very, very well, and the journey has been long, right? So like Dhruv himself started from Prop Tiger, and then managed to stay in the game long enough to acquire the right assets along the way, and then keep executing. I think it's a very, very like I have a lot of respect for the way Dhruv has gone about doing it.
I guess at that level, it's more about people management than anything else.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So then what next? You had some sort of lock-in period there after they acquired you?
Yes, there was a lock-in. So I kind of I had to cut my right hand to free the handcuff.
Oh, I like that analogy.
So when I came out, because I actually said, so I was in dilemma for some time, and then it became clear to me that I should go back to my original callings from 5 years back, which was edtech. And what had happened was just a little bit of flashback. So in 2015, when I was going through this real estate versus education kind of a dilemma, I ended up taking real estate, but I made an investment as an angel into Uolo as a company. Uolo was then being run by my brother Ankur and one of his batchmates from ISP. So they were doing this school company, and I was kind of, because I had kind of broken my head enough in startup, so I was kind of Ankur's bouncing board around how to navigate this, that. So I used to kind of work closely with them. So a lot of things were working okay, but as a business, it was not really taking off for them. So they spent, while I was doing all of this Fast Fox thing, they were doing Uolo, they were going acquiring schools. They were effectively like an ERP player with a very thin communication kind of a offering. So they had about 700-800 schools at that point of time, but the company was really not able to excite investors or kind of articulate what they want to become, right?
This was a subscription business, like they were taking a
Subscription business, yeah.
subscription fees from schools for automating communication, like say bus is late today, or
Not automating. It was like manual. So think of WhatsApp for schools. So they were selling WhatsApp for schools to schools.
like the school could release their app on the Play Store through which it could send notifications to parents.
It was actually not even white labeled. It was their own Uolo app that the school can take, and the parents will download, and then the school administration or the school teachers. So school teachers can send homework. School administrator could send this bus late hai, and all of those kind of messages. So that is how it was.
Okay. And there would be the feature that teacher can send to all her students only, so she can select her class and send homework only.
Yeah. A little bit of nitty-gritty. Yeah, so all of this and a little bit of nitty-gritty around the fact that in WhatsApp group, all the numbers become exposed to all the group members. But in school setup, you don't want that. So on Uolo, the same thing will happen, but you will not see other people's numbers. And schools love that. So they...
But this was one-to-one, or it was like a group that got created? Like parents could talk to each other, or parents would get broadcast?
Group. A parent will get group messages, but the reverse flow was optional. A lot of schools did not want parents to reply. That you just hear from what I have to say. I don't want to hear what you have to say. That's like a typical school.
Okay. So you could change setting to broadcast mode or group mode. Okay.
Yeah. So all of that. So that was there. So the company was not doing great. I mean, it was doing good at the fundamental level, but it was not doing great in the eyes of the investor world.
How much was it making? Like what was their ARR or?
1.2 crores maybe.
Okay. which doesn't justify two ISP graduates doing it full time.
Doing that. Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. So Badrish quit the company, and Ankur continued to hang in there. And Badrish was a little unsettled for some time because his daughter was actually much older to Ankur's, and she was coming in grade 10. And then he said, it's time, like, I need to seriously worry about the future, everything, right? And post school. So he said, I am folding. So he folded. Ankur was also a wall at the back because no co-founder, or not able to raise money. Business is barely profitable, right? So what we did was, uh, besides moral support, I ended up leading a syndicate for him on Angel List, and then on Let's Venture. So we raised two syndicates for him. So raised some capital, and this was all through the time when I was in housing, actually. Uh, but I slowly started getting more vested into the opportunity. Like, I used to start. Also, I kind of had my own mental cycles available. Before that, there's too much of my own shit that I was busy with, right?
Yeah. Being a founder is a full time job. Yeah.
Being a founder in Fastbox, and then my own company was not doing great. So then I felt that this business is definitely exciting, but maybe it needs to be done differently. So then I kind of met Ankur and convinced him that let's just do the same business in a different way all over again, right? And the way to do that would be that we'll create a new company, buy out this company, and then raise money in that company, and then start building forward from that point with a new strategy with no obligation to what we have done in last 5-7 years.
What is a syndicate? You said you raised a syndicate on Angels.
Oh, syndicate. Like, Let's Venture and Angel List has got a lot of angel investors who are willing to make investments. But the way these platforms work is that one guy has to raise his hand and say, hey, I think this company is good, and I am putting my money. And that person then convinces other angels that they should also put the money. So you kind of form a group of people, and that is called a syndicate. And then somebody needs to act as a syndicate lead. So I ended up being the syndicate lead who convinced other people that, no, this Uolo is a good opportunity. I am putting my own money. You also put money. So that is what I did on Angel List and Let's Venture, and pulled some capital for Uolo.
And this syndicate lead has to do a lot of calling and make the pitch himself, or
No. So what the syndicate lead has to do?
these platforms take care of that heavy lifting?
So the arranging, all the heavy lifting of finding angel investors are done by these Angel List and Let's Venture. But when the presentation happens, the lead will have to share his thesis, and the founder will come and talk about how the business is doing. So that is what my role was.
The other question, sorry. Why this complication of buying that company out with a new company and all of that? Was it the cap table was messy? A lot of investors in the...
Yeah, because I think what happens is that because company was like 5-year-old company, lot of small investors, a lot of capital raised. So we had to clean it up because it was not investor friendly. And then also there was a room that was required to be created for me to come and operate. So because I said, I'm going to put my next 5 years, 10 years, whatever it takes to build this. And then there's a certain thought process around how we want to take it. So what we did was we created a new company as a blank company. Then we acquired Uolo's business on day one in our currency, our stock of the new company. And then we convinced Umidyar and Bloom to come and invest in this company on our new management team, and a new direction that we want to take this company. So they kind of came in. Bloom was with me in my previous company, so there was a little bit of comfort there. And for Umidyar, they had a belief in this space. They believed that this is an interesting market. So both of them came together. They put in some money, and in 2020 we could execute this plan. And then that is how the journey of what we call as Uolo 2.0 started. So the current company is that I'm co-founder and CEO of, is actually, it's still called Uolo, but in reality it is the Uolo 2.0.
Okay, fascinating. So, what was your pitch to Bloom and Omidyar?
So the pitch was very simple. We said the future of schools is going to be different, where these schools will have a platform that will not only help them do stuff inside the school, but will also contribute towards a lot of learning products that will be there on that platform. And the reason that platform should exist is because there are now smartphones in the homes of people, and the learning can continue to happen in the homes, right? So you can, let us say, if you were taught about the solar system in a grade 5 in a school, then you can watch a small video on solar system at your home on your parent's smartphone. But you need a platform for that to happen, right? So a platform should be able to send that content, and then you should maybe that content itself was available on that platform, and the teacher just selected and sent it and stuff like that. You could have people learning English, doing math practice, a whole bunch of stuff. So that is what we want to create, but we want to start with going to a lot of schools. And that platform should be there, and maybe it will just start by looking like a plain simple ERP, but that is the starting point. It will go into the learning zone as well. So that was the pitch. It was quite fuzzy, but they wanted to do this, so they were excited about what it could be. So that is how the journey started.
Is there a global comparable company which does something like this?
No, there is not. There is not, because in US,
There isn't, right? Like either companies are doing ERP or they are doing content. Like the combination of ERP plus content, I don't think there is any.
yeah, so ERP plus content combination is not there. So in that sense, it's like the Narsimha avatar, right? So it's half man, half animal kind of a thing. Uh, but like the hypothesis was, at least for us, that in India, this avatar is what is required, because there is a because if you look at globally, the market in India is very different than rest of the world, where there is public schooling system. In India, 40% of the kids go to a private school, and this is the creamy layer of India, or like a layer that has got any cream is going to a private school actually in India, and they behave very differently um, than how the US market works. The decision making will happen at a school by school level, and once they sign on to a platform, they will want to do everything on that. So getting inside the school is going to be the single biggest bottle. That is why the market is different, and then possibly the solution should also be different. That was our pitch at that point.
Okay. So, like, I guess in the US, they would be using tools like, say, I think Kahoot is one, and there are others.
Kahoot is there. There's a company called Power School, which is the biggest ERP player. So it's valued at about $6 billion, listed company. But they only do ERP. They do not mess around with learning. And then you have learning companies.
Kahoot is like a learning company, right? Like that's more on.
Kahoot is a little bit of like learning company, because they work with the teachers on the quizzes, and then they have a lot of other learning programs. Like they have a math program now, they have an English program now. So it is not a ERP company. But interestingly, Kahoot has recently acquired a US company called Clever, which
Which is ERP.
which is a little different from ERP, but it is more in the ERP realm. So Clever is a school SSO company. So it kind of SSO is like
What is SSO? Secure sign-on.
single sign-on, right? So
Single sign-on. Okay.
what Clever allows people to do is, let's say, if you think about a school, now the school needs a whole bunch of other edtech companies to come and plug into the school. But the problem is, every single company has a problem that the child account should get created. But for that, you need to interface with the ERP and stuff like that. So Clever sits in between, and it allows the ERP login that would be there in Power School to talk to a Dragon Math solution via Clever. And then Clever, I think, also has a little bit of their own login management. So if you do not have a ERP, I think even then it works. So Kahoot is becoming now similar to learning plus utility space, which is what we are building.
And learning plus admin.
Yeah, in India. Yeah, but everybody started from a very different point.
So there is, of course, Lead School in India, which is working with schools, but more on content side, not on the admin and ERP.
Like Leeds thesis is also a little bit like that. I will give you everything that you need. So I will give you a academic ERP. So not necessarily the managing the school and the fees kind of a ERP, but I'll give you an academic ERP, and I will give you every single thing. So they will manage the report cards and stuff like that. Attendance, I'll give you an app and all the content. So there'll be digital content, and then of course I'll give you my books. Plus, I'll give you smart class, physical TVs,
And lesson plans, and also that teachers can teach easily.
every single thing. So it's basically a learning company with a little bit of ERP offerings. So I would say Lead School is also trying to be that everything player, but starting from an academic world, and we are trying to be the everything player, but starting from a utility world or a ERP world.
And so your thesis is that India is an everything player market. That
For
is the kind of.
schools, yes, but I think when you also try to be an everything player, you have to figure out what is it that you will do and what is it that you will let other people do. As in, for example, Lead will say that if the child has to learn maths, it has to be the maths that I am giving, right? But what our approach is that there are different people require different kind of maths programs, and different schools will find some different maths program relevant for them, and that decision is best left to the school. So let them have whatever maths program that they want, but a part of that maths program should happen on our platform. So we want to be a platform company in this market, and that platform grows both ways, right? It grows inside the school utility space. So it starts capturing the fees, attendance, report card, communication of the school. So that creates a lock-in inside the school. Right? The school is not dependent upon you. And then it also grows on top where, let us say, all these other learning programs that the school is having, it powers that to extend in the after school space. The schools, as we know, are going to extend in the after school hours. So the way to think about it is that school as a business was always in a box, and that box was a space and time box. So the school could only operate in the school premises during what we know as the school hours. But any local business wants to expand, right? Wants to grow. So the way school will grow is when it goes outside of this box. And in COVID, the schools have realized that they can actually operate in the after school hours. They can operate when the child is still at home. But what they need is a platform to be able to operate there, right? And that platform was Zoom at that point of time. But actually, Zoom is not really designed for the school. So you need something else, right? So something that can help the school. Let's say the school wants to do some extra classes. They should be able to do seamlessly, because all the children are there. That app is with the children. The scheduling and everything happens seamlessly. If there's some digital content that these students need to consume in the after school hours, that should happen seamlessly. If the children need to improve, let's say, their maths, it should be simpler to do that, because the questions are available and then they can answer those multiple choice questions and all of that on the same app. So that digital infrastructure is what we think is required as the schools evolve to be the schools of the future. They need an infrastructure, and that infrastructure comes from us.
Okay, fascinating. So this needs a lot of investment in content, or are you looking at aggregating content from multiple sources?
Yeah, so people need content, but it is beyond the capacity of any one person to address the content need of the market. This market is going to be perpetually fragmented. And the reason for that is also that the fragmented content market is required for schools to be able to differentiate themselves with their neighboring school, right? So if everybody is using same content, then there's practically no differentiation left. So different, it's in interest of the schools to peddle different variants of pedagogy, saying, "Oh, we do Oxford maths. Oh, we do this, that," right? So schools will keep doing that, and that is how the
Plus teacher creativity. Like teachers want to be creative. They don't.
teacher creativity, yes. So teachers will say, I will do, let's follow this, let's follow that. All of that chaos will always be there in the school market. So the content market will remain fragmented. So it is best left for existing content players, or for that matter, even new content players to come and create content, because content will remain a niche play. There'll be good, profitable companies coming out, but it will not be a giant internet company coming out of that market. So we think that all of these content companies need to have digital extensions, digital exercises that run on a platform and not in some standalone app. As in, how many apps can a parent have? It will not have a separate math app and an English app and all of that. So you need one platform where a digital version of that content will also be there. And either these publishers will create it, or some other newer vendors will come, they will tie up with the publishers and something new will get created, but this will run on a platform, right? And that platform is something that the teachers use, the school uses, uh, and the platform that connects everybody. That platform is what Ulo wants to be.
So, uh, who are these content creators that you're talking about? Are you talking about, like, say, a Pearson, Eschan, these kind of publishers, or like a QMath, like these startups which are in niche?
I think both will converge. I think both of these worlds will converge. Right now, we look at these two worlds as very different worlds. One is because one operates in the school market and one operates in the after school market. But we think that the school will extend itself beyond the school hours. So the school players will also want to flex their muscles in the after school market. And the good thing, the structural advantage of the school players is that they're aligned with the school. We have launched three programs of our own. Two are launched, one is in the works. So what we did is we've launched a English speaking program, which fits into the school system. So there are 2 periods that the teacher will take in a month to teach students about how they can speak properly in English. But then in the after school hours, the child will practice English speaking on the Ulo app. So the structural problem in the market was that there was not enough time available during the school hours for every child to speak adequately. And because they were not speaking adequately, they were not increasing their English fluency. But this problem can be sorted by technology, and there's enough time available. There's a hardware available at the school, at home. Children can use that, but it has to fit into that. It should come out of the school. So we've launched this one program. Then there's another program that we have launched, which this is a company that we acquired actually. It's called Techie. That is a computer science curriculum. So that replaces the existing computer science curriculum in the school, and we children are able to do learn Python and block programming inside the school, right? And then they can go home and they continue to build on the project that they were doing inside the school. So to give you a contrast, so you on one end you have companies like White Hat Junior. They will have 800 rupees per hour to teach the child block programming. We are able to deliver that, including the physical book, including the teacher training, in 800 rupees per year.
And you said three products, right? English coding.
The third the third one, we are still, it is in the works. We have not launched it, but that is around maths. So we are launching a maths program that is basically a book and a digital program. And the idea is that all of these three programs we kind of sell it enough, show enough traction for all of our content creators to realize that this is how it needs to work, right? In the school and after the school. And then we let them do all of the other content development in the world that needs to be done. It gets done by them and not by us.
Amazing. Okay. So this is essentially uh, a way for the school to upsell more stuff. Like the English speaking course is not something which a school will give for free to students, but it will add something to the fees. So maybe you're charging 800 or something, whatever. So they will.
School will add a little bit on top. Yeah, absolutely. That is how it works.
Okay. So therefore, it is not a cost center for a school anymore, which would be the problem with most edtechs are cost centers. Like most edtechs who are selling to schools are essentially a cost center for a school where they have to pay a subscription. This becomes a
So it's a profit center for. It's a profit center.
profit center. Amazing. Okay. And so you would do like both the teacher training, get the teachers equipped, provide them with the books if needed, and the LMS would be on Uolo only, like the course curriculum. And this would be like a mix of during school, some work on their own after school, or after school also can be teacher guided.
So I think in the way we imagine the world, after school could also be teacher related, because we think that the school products and school services both will go outside of the box that the school is in right now. But so far, we have not taken the teacher out of the box. We do that very rarely. Like sometimes that does not happen on our two products, like the Techie and Speak products that we have. It does not happen there. We want, maybe we'll try it out. I think there's also a lot of change, right? So the teachers also are not willing to work beyond the school hours and all of that. So it's a complex ecosystem.
Yeah. So they also need to have some more incentive, like
Yeah, so now they have to have incentives, so that the school should be willing to increase their salary a little bit. So I think some of these things will happen automatically as the market, transforms into the new world. What we need to do is do the absolute minimum, because if you try to do too much, you will burn yourself out without making any change. So do the absolute minimum and make this change happen. So once enough schools are doing it, these models will naturally figure out, right? So think about it, right? If the school is going to make money in the after school hours, and if a teacher is playing a role on it, of course she'll get compensated. But if I were to go and preach it today, the buyers might not be there. So I'm kind of only doing stuff which establishes the paradigm, uh, and these things will automatically evolve.
okay, fascinating. So essentially, in the long term, the tuition market is something which the schools could take a pie out of that also. Like parents anyway send kids to tuitions, so instead of sending to tuition somewhere else, the school is only upselling tuitions to the captive audience which they have of parents, and the trust is already there. Okay, amazing. Tell me the product journey. So you initially acquired the existing Ulo product, which was just like a more sophisticated version of WhatsApp. So from there, tell me the stages the product has gone through.
Yeah, quite a lot of transformation. I think everything that was required to work was working, because there were about 700-800 schools using it. But it was very monolithic. So it was not thought of as a platform.
It was a single use case product, basically.
A single use case product, very monolithically designed. Then what we ended up doing was we started reimagining it. So to a point where, but we had to kind of continue giving support to the older version of it. So all the new stuff that we kept building on. So we said, hey, let us see if we can get the mind share of the students in the after school hours. So there is a property that we developed which allowed children to spend time, do a whole bunch of things, do hobby classes, this, that. This was not offered by the school, but it was happening in the app that the school was offering. So we created that.
Okay, like a marketplace for
marketplace kind of thing. But we said, keep it free. The idea was not to make money out of it. The idea was to establish a behavior where children spend time on the in the after school hours on a digital platform. And for us, it was also good that COVID had happened, so people had the time and to spend on our platform. So that we all built out. Uh,
You raised your funding pre-COVID or during COVID? The Bloom or mid-air?
pre COVID,
How much was that?
$3 million. What happened was that we got a commitment pre-COVID, but then COVID happened. And then because of COVID, it got delayed by a few months. So we actually got the money in bank only in October 2020. So that is
But what were you doing in that period till October? Like you continued to build through your own funds, or
so. Yeah, that is what happened. So we kind of kept. So what happened was that 1.0 was having this nice, sweet, almost break-even kind of a journey, and then we basically put accelerator on that. So the burn increased. We started getting some high-quality people, and then COVID happened. But we were fortunate to kind of the things fell in place. So by the time we were completely out of money, and it came to a point where it also was hard for us to sustain in our individual capacity. We got the round to close. So that happened. Then in terms of product journey, because of COVID, there was a lot of nonsense stuff which was not required to be done, but we had to do it because schools started asking for it, because schools had to operate in an online environment. And so they said, hey, do you have online classes on your platform? It was not planned to give you online classes, but we had to create that. We had to create flows for whole LMS,
online classes means like a Zoom, like a video conferencing.
like a Zoom integrated on your platform. Actually, so problem in school is not the Zoom. The problem is that how did you scheduling around Zoom,
Access control.
access control it and stuff like that, right? So then we had to kind of go solve that problem for school. Then there were a lot of schools that realized, especially the lower end of the spectrum, they realized that synchronous learning is something that we cannot achieve, because like there is one device at home and then two children who need to study. So the only way this can happen is in an asynchronous fashion. So we will send videos, and the WhatsApp does not let you send large enough videos. So we'll send it on your platform, and then the people will look at that. And then there'll be some homework workflow where children will do the homework on their notebook, take photographs and submit that and all of that. So all of that stack we built in. Then people said, we also need to have assessments. So we built assessments also. A lot of this became actually useless after COVID, by the way. But it still fits in our end game kind of a situation. So once
Yeah, because for running the tuition classes, like
all of this will be required,
if a school was, yeah, absolutely.
right? So so that is what happened for good 1 year in the company. Also, I think what happened internally for us is that market was so hot, the venture market, that just scrambling for engineers was very hard. So and then everybody was working remote. It was a mayhem. So our market was moving very fast because of COVID. Schools were all impacted, and we had a hard time hiring people.
There's an edtech hiring boom.
Yeah, edtech hiring boom, and we would somehow manage to stay afloat, honestly. And then as the COVID started to settle down, we could flesh out our own platform offering. So we could kind of migrate to new platform, kind of clean up all the user flows so that it becomes very modular. Everything became microservice based. So we could actually flesh out things out of it. We built a quizzing platform where you can have, let's say, tomorrow publishers coming in, and if they have digital quizzes to have, they can kind of every single quiz, it's like typically people when they make quiz, they will always have that kaun banega crorepati style, right? Multiple choice question. But problem is that it is boring, right? For a child, you need to do different stuff. You need to drag and drop, sometimes fill in the blanks, sometimes you have to not give him 4 options, because children are great at making random guesses, and learning does not happen, right? They have to think harder. and write something, right? So all of those formats we built out on the platform. We started deepening our own.
So these are like authoring tools, basically, like so that.
These are authoring tools, yeah. So we kind of so one is authoring, and then second is also so authoring on the side of creation, and also on the side of consumption. So because the children will actually do this stuff, so both will happen on our platform. So authoring will also happen, and then consumption will also happen. So we started from communication. The issue with communication is that it is quick to get in, but it is not sticky enough. So we said, okay, let's build fees, let's build report card. So some of these more commonly used modules we started building. So we consciously stayed outside of the ERP trap. And we said, the one way to do that is because what happens is that customers are demanding. So they will ask for different things. And then you have to know when to say no to the customer. So what we did was we said, let us burn this market, this profit pool that is there as an ERP company. We started taking zero money for the ERP solution. We said, we will not touch this money, because if we touch this money, you will hold us accountable to giving you some random feature, and all our grand plans of evolving into a platform will get compromised. So we burned that money as in that profit pool, and just focused on building good enough solutions that work for 90-95% of the schools, and ignore the top 5-7% of the schools who are very demanding.
Okay. But what else is left? If you're doing academic performance, which is like report cards, and you're doing fee collection also, right? So what else is left in?
So I'll give you example. And this is like the laundry list of ERP companies. So teacher attendance, right? Teacher payroll pay management. Then you have things like library management, school in physical stock management. We said all of that shit we're not going to do because it's that is not where we are really adding value. So we stayed away from that. So we have few modules, very targetedly. We have fees, we have attendance, we have report card, and we have got communication. It's 4 modules. That's what we stick.
Okay. And do you earn something from fees, like a percent, like a payment gateway charge or something, or it's negligible?
No, we don't. We don't make money from there. Actually, there's a little bit of opportunity people are pursuing around fee financing. So that opportunity is there, but we thought that if we succeed in what we are trying to do, then fee financing also will be able to do. So I'll tell you what is the fee financing opportunity and why it is a little bit complex in our market. So fee financing opportunity is that schools charge fees quarterly, and the parents earn monthly, right? So if you can convert the quarterly fees into monthly fees, people are fine because it aligns with their salary cycles, and then therefore there is a financing opportunity. But for that to work out, your parents should be credit worthy.
Yeah, you need to do risk underwriting.
Right. So now when you go to mass market of India, and in the market that we operate, so we get about 400-500 schools a month on the platform that we add. So we are sitting at about 8,500 schools right now. So the way it works is these are mass market schools. The fees would be sometimes like 1,000 rupees a month. The parents are not very credit worthy. So if you start offering things, a lot of times parents are like the CIBIL score and all will not. So a lot of parents will get rejected by a global player. So if you want to play this opportunity, you need to work with very local NBFCs who are comfortable lending in Balia, right? We have got schools in Balia. But if you want a Bombay-based NBFC to do underwriting for these guys, they will not underwrite.
So how do you acquire schools? Like you said, 8,500 schools you've acquired so far. What is the go-to market?
This is all our Knowlarity learnings coming back. So back in Knowlarity, we figured out that small businesses can be acquired over telephone. So you don't need to go physically on to them, because if your product is cheap, or in our case free, then you can give a phone call, you can do some marketing on SMS, WhatsApp, get interest, get on a phone and explain the product, get on Zoom, give a demo, and if they like it, they'll take it, right? Why do you have to physically go? So that when we started, actually, there was a one venture capital fund that told me, "Pallav, what you're trying to do won't happen, because the tribal knowledge in venture community is that schools have never been acquired at scale. It will not work out."
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Like most companies spend a lot on school acquisition. Like Exceed, Lead School will have like feet on street.
Lazy amount, huh? Yeah, yeah. So our philosophy is that, hey, get the school in, create a lock-in, create a moat around these schools, because these schools are going to be very valuable in the future scheme of things. And if these schools have a structural dependency on you, then you will make a little bit of fair money. If you try to make too much money, schools will kick you out. But if you make fair money, that relationship will last very, very long. And then as a platform, you make a lot of money, because the money from a lot of schools adds up.
So 8,500 schools have signed up. What is the ratio of these who are actually actively using it, like properly using the product?
So there are different degrees of active. So we kind of get rid of schools that are, so we lose some schools who are not active. But these 8,500 schools are broadly in different degrees of activity. So some people will use only communication. And then within that, there are grades. Some people will use us only for administrative communication, that school is open, school is closed because of whatever, COVID or flooding. Then there are use cases where teacher starts using it, that is more active. Then there are schools that are also using fees, for example. So different degrees of activity, but all these 8,500 schools are actually active schools that we have.
Okay. So what is your plan to increase the engagement of schools on the platform? Like all these, it's essentially now you need to think like a Facebook. How Facebook, Instagram are constantly tweaking algorithms to make users spend more time, and minutes spent is the metric that they're constantly working to improve.
Yeah. So basically, you have to get more of the school on your platform. That is the plan in a nutshell. So first thing that we're doing is we have tied up with a company, and we are bringing digital content on our platform. So this digital content is think of it as a mini EduComp. So they give a solution for smart classes, but the same content that the teacher showed in the classroom can also be sent by the teacher on the Uolo app, right? Because how you send it is basically the communication module, but what goes is that same video that got played on the TV inside the classroom. And then, of course, children start doing it, they start spending more time and all of that. So that is there. Our learning programs are paid programs.
But this content is accessible for free, or is it for existing subscribers of this company?
No. So we offer to our schools at a cost. So we say, hey, instead of buying smart class solution from EduComp or let's say Extra Marks, buy it at a fraction of a cost, 1/3, 1/4 of the cost from us. And by the way, it will also be shareable to the children. So that is the idea. We won't make too much money doing this either.
But you're increasing the time spent. That metric is what you want to move right now. Smart classes used to be a thing 10 years back, but is it still a thing today? Like, are schools still buying a smart class product? And
it's basically like, keeping up with the Joannes kind of a thing, right? So because the other people are doing it, schools are doing it. So it's very interesting, actually. When I go and talk to some of the better schools, what they say is that, hey, we have stopped buying content from other players. We were doing it earlier, but we have stopped it. When I talk to the middle and the lower schools, they want to install a smart class and get some smart content. The reason is that, the market is evolving. The people at the top, they are figuring out that actually this whole smart class, there is no engagement, nothing. it's something random that is there, which gets played for some 5 7 minutes in the class. It does not integrate very seamlessly to the pedagogy, so we are checking out of it. Although they're still using the TV and all, but a lot of schools, what they started doing is they're letting their own teachers develop content which gets showed in the smart class. They're not buying content from outside.
I guess YouTube is like pretty much eaten away that smart class market for the more sophisticated schools. Yeah.
Absolutely. People are saying that why should I pay you money for this packaged, like it's like, think about Airbnb destroying the packaged hotels, right? Uh, so they're saying that, I've got so much variety to choose from on the internet. Why should I rely on one vendor for all the content? My teachers can scan YouTube, find out the best videos, and they will use that. But again, to be able to share that content with children, what you need is a platform. So that is what we provide.
And teachers can create their own courses, like pick up a YouTube video, create their own quiz, and send it to the class.
So they can do that, but what is more common is teachers putting a pre-log or a epilogue kind of a thing, and the way that works is they will, let's say, download that video from YouTube on solar system, and then the teacher will put a small 20-second bite before that, and she will say, "Hello, children, we learned about solar system today, and watch this video. It will tell you about the Mars and the Venus, and Venus is the hottest planet, and all of that." So she'll give some with a photo. Then starts looking official, and then that combination will be sent. And by the way, the teacher on this platform gets a report whether children actually watched that video or not. So watching that video becomes part of the school's pedagogy. That is how the school gets extended, right?
Doesn't this cost you money? You are hosting videos now, and you're not monetizing this, right? If someone is
So this digital content piece we are charging schools. So we charge 25,000 rupees per annum to the school for doing this piece, and that kind of more.
no, this digital content you charge when you're providing access to that content, or if school wants to start sending digital content, whether their own or whether through your library, irrespective, you charge.
So what we do is, if they're using our own our content piece, which we have kind of licensed from this third party, we charge money. But if this teacher wants to send a YouTube video, she can still send it. That is free of cost actually for this.
And there's just a link. There's no server cost of that link.
So link, yeah. So this server cost of running the platform, but that is very less compared to streaming it, because we'll still stream from YouTube, right? But if the teacher were to record a pre-log kind of a thing, and that will cost us money, right? So, but that money in the bigger scheme of things, right? It's what on a per GB basis, the cost of streaming is about 65 paisa. So it's not all that expensive. But at some point of time, we should start worrying about it. But if we're able to instill this behavior in children today, it's not a whole bunch of money.
So, talk to me about monetization. What are the different ways in which you will monetize? One is like you have an annual subscription now, 25,000 rupees for this licensed content, which
I think that's not monetization for us. See, what will happen is that there are a lot of micro monetizations that will happen on the platform. And honestly, if you ask me, I'm not 100% clear exactly in what shape and form will it be successful, but I can talk to you about what are the possibilities that are there. So one clear possibility is that we are kind of helping schools become school plus, right? So there's a part of the school fees that comes to us for being that platform that allows the school to be school plus. Then the publishers who were on our platform and who were selling books for 200 rupees, they increased the price of their book by to 250 rupees. But their digital content, which they already had, by the way, and nobody cared to see, becomes
yeah, because it was on CDs, typically like
some random CD. We do not even have CDs on the laptop these days, right? But that is the world the publishers are living in. So now their content gets on our platform, nicely integrated. So we get a small toll out of every book that the school is buying, right? And that this 30, 40 rupees, 50 rupees per child starts adding up. So we think
And the book will have like a QR code or something through which the content can get unlocked for the child who buys the book or something like that.
absolutely, that all of that can happen, right? So that QR code gets resolved by us, the content is with us. So all of those magic happens, and then you can also at some point of time, right? If you're a publisher, something that you can't do today, uh, you cannot. You can only sell to the school. You do not have an opportunity to sell to the child. But if the child starts using your book in the context of the school, there's a lot of data is getting generated around what are the black holes for the child, what is stuff that it does not know. And then there could be other programs that the publisher has, which could be sold on the platform. So you make money by doing that.
You would rather be a scale player than be like a.
That is the only truth of internet businesses. This is what I think I learned from No Broker and Fast Fox. Do what internet players can do. Don't try to become an offline player with venture capital. Right? That is not.
Okay, interesting. So essentially, then you are building a distribution channel for edtech and for like education businesses. Let's just say that it could be edtech, it could be a traditional publisher, but for education businesses, it's a distribution channel, like say an Amazon. So every D2C brand today needs to sell on Amazon because Amazon has distribution, or say Zepto again has distribution. So every D2C brand will want to sell on Zepto. So similarly, every education business will want to sell on Uolo to reach your customer base. Like that would be the approach.
Yeah, so we like to think that YOLO as a company takes edtech to masses. That is what our philosophy, our vision is. Take edtech to masses. Right now edtech really, can make a difference in terms of new ways of doing things, learning things. It is restricted to the top of the pyramid, right? Just because the price points are insanely high, right? We talked about white hats earlier. If it becomes mass market, if it becomes like $1,000 for learning something, it will become everybody will buy it. Everybody in India will buy edtech for their children. And the proof of that is that 40% of India has chosen not to use free education by the government, but to pay for money, take private education. Why will they not take, right? It has to be reasonably priced. It should work with the school. It should come seamlessly to them, and then it will happen. Right? Sometimes the money will be collected by the school. Sometimes you'll collect yourself. So as a platform, you make money by, multiple places. So you make money from all the participants, sometimes by school, sometimes by publishers, sometimes by parents. But that is the ecosystem that you're powering.
You would probably also be able to do a physical store, like a store for buying physical products, like say books and.
So there's some things that we don't want to do. One of them is this. So the reason for this is we think that, see, we never ever, there's some things that are never ever for us, which is never ever step on the school's toes. So any business that the school can do better than you, don't do. So the school can sell uniforms better than us, school can sell stationery better than us. So don't get into those business, because then the school ceases to be a partner. It starts becoming a confrontational relationship. Yeah, so we don't want to do that. We want to help school make more money and be a platform to them. And if we are the platform, we'll make our money. And we're happy with 3, 4, 5% coming from the school.
What about selling pure edtech? Like say you have all these test prep, an academy or Adda 24/7. These are like pure online courses, test prep. That also is something you would like to do.
I think it will naturally, these are niche opportunities if you ask me. If you look at what number of people will be taking these kind of things, these are niche markets, right? These are smaller opportunities. And I think there'll be a section of people who will want to buy something like a test prep solution. And it is not unfathomable for us to also sell it. But this is not what we are about.
If you had to get into test prep, your way of doing test prep would be to somehow allow the school also to earn from selling test prep. Like maybe the teachers of the school are involved in running that or something like that.
Actually, if you ask me, test prep is not school's cup of tea, because so the school is a generalist player. So think of it like this: like we have got the general physicians, and then we have got the heart specialist doctors. So test prep is a specialist doctor place. School is a general physician. So that is how it will be. So the general stuff would be like entry level, anything school can teach. So entry level chess classes can happen in school.
Coding, maths, English,
Everything.
yes, right.
So if you have to do Olympiad grade, international Olympiad grade mathematics, the school is saying, boss, not my cup of tea. IIT grade test prep, not my cup of tea. But you want to teach abacus to grade to LKG students? Yeah, why not?
But test prep could be a good source of revenue, right? Because I mean, it's a large market.
Yeah, it is correct. It's kind of chunkier. It is chunkier revenue. The ticket sizes are more. People are willing to spend more, but that is also a little bit curse for us, because uh, you see, our value is to have the, um, if I can say, the most convenient place to buy things which are required, but they're not specialized. Okay. It's a very generic, general stuff. So it's like, oh, I wanted some math solutions. We said, hey, we have got math solutions. They might not be the best in the world, but they're aligned with your school. We know what is happening in this school, and these are good enough for your child. But if your child wants to become like a IIT champion by learning our maths, we are not the right people. Because we are giving very general, we are general physicians. तो छोटा पैसे ही बनेगा इस बिजनेस में.
I'm just wondering, if you have reach, why not use it fully? I mean, you could even, for example, run. Maybe you don't sell test prep, but you could be a place where an academy can advertise.
So, I mean, at some point of time in future, right, where the all of this that we want to do is looking like it is happening, then having a business manager drive that, I mean, will happen, right? So, like just like we have opportunity to do fee financing, we also have opportunity to do some of this stuff. But I think this is not the core to what Uolo is. But if Uolo becomes what,
Right. Your core is to increase schools' revenue.
yeah, yeah,
I wanted to understand your approach on fundraise. What's your fundraise philosophy? I think you raised about 22.5 million very recently. So what's the plan here? Like,
so I think if you are, one is that if you can raise, because it allows you to not be very short term about things. One is that I think too many people worry too much about dilution. I think that is not the point from a founder's point of view. At least I keep telling it to a lot of people, because eventually you will be left with a single digit in your company. It is, and startup, you are the risk that you're signing up when you do a startup. People don't even understand how much risk it is, and it's good because that allows them to start up. But the reality is that the odds are supremely low, and every time you raise capital, you're able to get good people, build a healthy board. It reduces the risk, it increases, and therefore it increases the probability of a success. And if a founder were to make at the end of the day $100 million versus $80 million because he diluted one more time, it does not matter. I think but the increasing the probability of that 70-80 million dollar outcome by 5x, that can be game changer. So I think that was one core advice that I would like to offer to people who are raising, and that is my philosophy also. That if you're able to raise. Um, I think the other thing is that do things that you are passionate about, because it will allow you to, outside of what is hot, because what is hot may cease to be hot after some time. The investors can afford to be more fickle about their choices. But as founders, that luxury is not available. Once you get into a venture, you are there for the long haul. So get into things that you're excited about. Work with people who you have a lot of respect for, because there are going to be fights. Sometimes it might not work out, but having mutual respect, complementary skills will help you, maybe manage those fights and hopefully not fall apart.
And that brings us to the end of this conversation. I want to ask you for a favor now. Did you like listening to this show? I'd love to hear your feedback about it. Do you have your own startup ideas? I'd love to hear them. Do you have questions for any of the guests that you heard about in this show? I'd love to get your questions and pass them on to the guests. Write to me at ad@thepodium.in. That's ad@thepodium.in.